School, and you're listening to Scandal Water,
where the tea is hot and the conversation lively.
Your hosts, Candy
and Ashley,
will discuss a peculiar story somehow related to the entertainment industry. This podcast might not change the world, but it just might satisfy your thirst for an intriguing tale.
Oh, it's that time of day. Tune in and hear what the ladies say. It's time to bend your ear when the silver screen appears. Stories about the stage and screen and everything in between. So come on and join the fun. The curtain opens in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, Ashley.
hello.
We are getting ready to start a new month.
Yes.
With a theme that both of us, I think, are super excited about.
Yes, we are.
It's going to be What a Disaster.
What a disaster. Especially coming off of Ruby, as we just did. We needed something.
Mayhem into disaster.
Mayhem into what does that say about us?
Right? But we're going to be talking about some big disaster movies.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted input from our listeners. We love it when people weigh in and tell us what they want to hear. So we went over to our group, our community group on our Facebook page, and we put a little poll there. And the topic that we are talking about today, the movie that we are going to delve into first, is one that they selected.
Yep.
The original 1996 Twister.
Yes, and it was the fast winner.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was definitely a fan favorite. And I do wonder if timing has something to do with that.
It could be.
Because I'm going to tell you, we are recording this at the end of April, even
Yes.
though it's coming out in June. And it's been
a rough season.
It has. It's been scary. And for some people have been tragically affected
Yeah.
by some of the storms and the flooding that has happened in our area. So our hearts go out to those
Yes.
people. We are not making light of that
Oh, gosh,
at
no.
all. In fact, there was a night recently where I think we set off mic. We were both taking shelter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Kirk and I were in the basement, ready to go back into the storage room. And you were...
I was in the basement. I was ready.
Yeah.
I had my purse. I was just sitting down there with the cats and my purse.
And so, yes, we are going to be moving into fun conversation because these were meant to be big
Yes.
summer
Blockbuster.
blockbusters, fun, action-packed. They are fun. But I did want to start by talking about how serious these are. You and I think, actually both also recently watched the Netflix documentary, The Twister, Caught in the Storm. Am I remembering correctly?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we did that by happenstance.
Yes.
I watched it and you told me you saw it. I said, I saw that too. It was so good.
I was interested because I knew I was getting ready to do this episode on Twister and, spoiler alert, Twisters.
Yes.
But Kirk was just interested in general. He was the one who said, hey, this looks interesting. Let's watch it. I personally was just so engaged.
Riveted, possibly?
Yes, absolutely. It was so powerful to me.
Especially the part where they had the footage from that cell phone. The part that they
Yes.
did about when the actual Twister hit. Oh, goodness.
Yes, it was basically told through personal accounts of people who had lived through it. And this one young woman had her cell phone going and she left it on the entire time.
Because she knew.
And you feel their terror. You're hearing what's happening. You're hearing their conversations. You feel their terror.
Yeah.
There were so many things I learned. It really, I think, was very scary. It was very eye-opening about the power and the devastation that can come from tornadoes. But I also learned this one poor fella who got caught up in it ended up getting attacked by a flesh-eating bacteria because of all the germs he was exposed to while he was in the funnel.
Yeah.
And barely made it through that.
It was awful.
Very eye-opening. That, by the way, is about the Joplin tornado. And Camden, a year after that happened, our church youth group went down there and did a little bit.
A year after Joplin happened originally?
Did a little bit of cleanup work, a little
nice.
humanitarian work. He said that even a year later, of course, so much work had been done by the community members and people who had come in to help. But he said even so, it was just so clear, this path of devastation and where it had gone. And then I remembered I have 2 dear, dear friends who lived through a tornado.
Really?
I asked them to send in some audio to share their experience with us. You've heard me mention them before. Jennifer and Rocky. I go all the way back to elementary school with Jennifer, and then we reconnected. We've been friends with them forever and ever. And this will take, I think, a little over 4 minutes. They're going to share with you what happened.
Okay.
We had just moved into our home the previous summer. We were finishing our first spring with plenty of daffodils and tulips on display in the yard. I remember thinking what a perfect spring it had been.
May 28, 1996 started out like any other spring day, warm and sunny with a chance of thunderstorms. I remember that day because I was off work due to the Kentucky primary election. I spent the day cleaning and organizing my garage and wasn't paying much attention to the weather.
I stopped on my way home from work to vote, but due to a mix-up when we moved, I wasn't on the voter rolls. It was my first time ever missing a chance to vote. I thought that was the worst part of my day.
We are news junkies, so we always have the TV on to hear what's going on in the world, especially with sports and weather. We were under a tornado watch, which was all too routine that time of year. It seemed like nothing ever came of those watches, but this day would be different. It brought severe storms, the likes of which we hadn't seen since 1974 when I was a child.
We didn't hear the tornado sirens, so we really had no advance warning that a multi-vortex monster tornado was bearing down on us.
First, the cable went out and we lost our TV signal. Then the electric went out too. We looked outside and noticed the winds had really picked up and the clouds were whirling and swirling in a way we had never seen. It was cool and concerning all at the same time.
Then the hail started, and in true redneck fashion, we went right outside to watch it. When the hail stopped, we decided we'd head to a neighbor's basement since our house didn't have one.
I was the last one down the stairs, and as I hit the bottom step, I saw 2 water spouts in the lake behind our neighbor's house. I froze to look. I was kind of mesmerized by what I saw and didn't even comprehend the danger that was upon us. Jennifer yelled at me to get away from the window and get into the closet with the others, and I quickly obliged.
8 of us waited in a basement closet with concrete walls as that EF4 tornado ripped across the county and right down our street. We never heard it, but everyone's ears popped from the change in pressure as it went by.
When it was over, we came outside, and it was eerily quiet, and the skies were a weird yellow-green. As we looked toward our house, we noticed that our garage roof was gone. We thought we saw it in the street about 500 feet away, but then we realized it wasn't our garage roof laying in the street, but the roof from another neighbor's house.
There were trees and power lines down everywhere, and the constant wailing of emergency vehicles could be heard for hours. Now, our only source of news was a battery-powered radio with callers giving damage accounts. It started to sink in that the damage was really widespread. We were so concerned about our friends and family, but with no phone service and blocked roads, there was no way to contact anyone.
As we assessed the damage, it seemed so unreal. Our detached garage was almost completely gone. The roof had been torn off and peeled back like a sardine can. One wall was leaning, held up only by a lamppost, and the other exterior walls were all partially gone. All 3 of our vehicles were damaged. The doors on our metal pole barn had been ripped open. Our house had a couple windows sucked out. Some pieces of siding were loose and flapping in the wind, and we had a few shingles missing. But overall, we were very lucky.
The next day, FEMA came by to view the aftermath so they could determine the wind strength. They saw a baseball and a 2x4 driven into the trunk of a tree in our backyard. Additionally, a section of our fence that was set in 2 feet of concrete had been ripped out of the ground. That demonstrates wind speed over 175 miles per hour and denotes an EF4 rating.
We didn't see any cows fly by, but we did find mail and pictures from miles away. We even found a sack of Rally's hamburgers and fries on our deck, and they were still warm.
Another relief agency asked people to return identifying debris and where it was found. They used that to map information and determine the direction and circulation of the tornado.
Even now, we still watch the news every day and pay especially close attention to the weather. Whenever they say we are expecting severe weather in our area, we get nervous and it feels like it's heading right for us.
That tornado was a terrible event and something we'll never forget, but the help and kindness shown to us and so many others was truly a silver lining to that very dark cloud.
Can you believe that?
Oh, that was very compelling.
I mean, we have been friends with them forever. Yeah. I did not remember some of those details because we hadn't talked about that in ages. And listening to it, I got chills. I mean,
got teary-eyed. I was just like feeling it with them because it made me think in 1996 is when this happened. Wasn't the original Twisters released in 96? So a lot of the technology that we were seeing in the film is what was available because I was thinking, why didn't they know the tornado was coming? But that's the
point. The premise of it.
Of Twisters. Twister is that people didn't know.
They did not get a big enough warning, a long enough warning.
Right. When it attacks Aunt Meg's house, she said it was seconds. She had no idea that this thing was coming. Golly.
Yeah, and some of the examples Jennifer and Rocky gave, the baseball and the 2x4 embedded in the trunk, it's so dangerous. It's so scary. And I was thinking about this. For a lot of us, I think tornadoes are fascinating because, I mean, they are fascinating. They're such an interesting force of nature, and we've not lived through them.
Right.
And so there is the unknown for us. You know, it is interesting. For people who've lived through it, like them, when they said they get nervous, like it's coming for us every time it happens. For the longest time after that event, we would get calls from them whenever there was weather headed our way. They'd be like, are y'all paying attention? Are y'all watching the news? I mean, they were watching out for everybody because it was just so high on their radar.
Yeah, because they had lived through it. And that's sort of, again, tying it quickly into Twister. That's what Helen Hunt's character, she lived through one. And that's why she was so single-minded. And I have got to give people some warning because she knew how devastating that they were.
Absolutely. Personal. There was personal, emotional investment.
And I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but that's one thing that I thought was interesting between Twister and Twisters, the two female leads. Like Helen Hunt's character went through this devastating event and she ran full force toward tornadoes. Like she was almost compelled to go stand in one, you know, like I'm going to stare you down. Where our other heroine, she went the opposite. She ran away from them and it's both are legitimate reactions to trauma and tragedy and interesting to look at.
Absolutely. Well, I thought that would be a fascinating way to start.
Oh my gosh.
And kind of ground us in some of the reality behind, again, what we said are going to be some really fun but fascinating blockbuster summer movies. So let's start with Twister. Little piece of trivia, you probably saw this. I know you like to pay attention to the trivia, but it was reportedly the first movie ever released on DVD in the US and also the last one released on HD DVD.
That's cool.
So it made
a bookend.
Right, exactly. It was a PG-13 movie directed by Jan de Bont, who had just directed, within the year or two prior to that, the very successful movie Speed from 1994. Yes. So he was riding high.
He knew his stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Here is the IMDb summary, in case you're not familiar.
I know you love your IMDb summaries.
I do. I really do. TV weatherman Bill Harding is trying to get his tornado hunter wife, Jo, to sign divorce papers so he can marry his girlfriend, Melissa. But Mother Nature, in the form of a series of intense storms sweeping across Oklahoma, has other plans. Soon the three have joined the team of storm chasers as they attempt to insert a revolutionary measuring device into the very heart of several extremely violent tornadoes.
Yeah, they are extremely violent. Good heavens. I was just like, y'all crazy. This group of people, I feel like I know I keep comparing, but just it's fresh in my head. I feel like the team from Twister were a little bit more like wild and crazy than Twisters because if something was dangerous, they pulled back. They said, oh, okay, we're not going to go for this. But Helen Hunt's team, they were just like, whoa, we're going straight into it.
Well, and that's something I had in my notes. I wasn't going to bring it up for quite yet, but I think this is a good time. Storm chasers were not this well-known thing prior to this movie. I'm sure that they existed. Obviously they existed because this was based on some of that. But the public at large didn't really know about it. And so I think it was this new and novel thing already, and then the way the movie approached it and played up their sense of adventure with
adrenaline
the music
junkie.
and the woohoos, and they were so excited every time they were doing it. It made it fun.
Glamorous.
You know? Yeah, absolutely. Now, here was something that I had not realized, but it made so much sense to me when I saw it. A 2024 Variety magazine said this about the movie. Co-written by Jurassic Park author Michael Crichton and his then wife Anne-Marie Martin, produced by Kathleen Kennedy, executive produced by Steven Spielberg, Walter Parks, and Laurie McDonald, and directed by Jan de Bont, the $495 million grossing blockbuster was poised for success before a frame of the film was shot.
Sure was.
Listen,
they were paid.
I mean, the people behind
I know. I saw that they were paid. Michael and his wife Anne-Marie were paid $2 million for their script.
Yes, absolutely. At the time, that was the single most expensive screenplay ever purchased. That was a record.
It's because of Jurassic Park, I'm sure. They're like, hey, can you help us out?
And that also explained so many of the parallels I saw between Jurassic Park and this movie. There were, one after another. Even when I first saw Helen Hunt come into the frame, I was like, she looks like
Laura Dern.
Yes, absolutely. Even her outfit. Yeah. But filming began on May 1st, 1995 and ended on July 22nd of 1995 after 2 months, 11 weeks, or 82 days of filming. Can you imagine they did it all in that short a time period? So you've already mentioned how much Michael Crichton and his then wife were paid for their script, but they still brought in some script doctors to help work on it even after that. 2 of them earned $100,000 each for their work.
Where do I sign up for that job? Because I can doctor somebody else's script. You could too, right? It's
Absolutely.
already done.
I
We just
do
make
that.
it a little
I can do
floofier,
that.
little nice,
Absolutely,
little
yeah.
sprinkles on top.
But think about how much money they were pouring into just the screenplay. That's amazing. Yeah. I'm going to ask you, I know we've both done a rewatch, but do you remember your impressions from seeing it the first time?
I don't, because I don't think I was always very storm averse. Like storms scared me. Storms still scare me. So I think that when I saw it, it probably frightened me to death, and I did not watch it frequently because of that, because it would have been a little bit of like, hey, let's relive PTSD. Let's make ourselves scared.
Right.
So I think it was, I'll tell you the 3 things. Was it 3 things? Because I wrote this down in my notes. Like the things that I remembered. I remembered that her dad dies in the opening sequence because it's what drives her to become what she is.
Absolutely.
I remembered the breakup.
Yes.
I remembered the cow. And
I did remember the cow.
I remember this. I remember the person saying cow. And then I remembered at the end the strap, because I remember thinking, this is ridiculous. You would have been sucked up into that thing, but okay, cool. Like, I remember that. Those are
Right.
the things I remembered.
Yeah, it's funny because they say that cow is one of the most well-known,
Yes!
most popular things from this movie.
Yes, I wrote that down when I watched it. I was like, why is this line cow? Why is that what everybody remembers
And then
from Twister?
Not a different cow, it's same cow or
think
something
that's the
like
same
that.
cow.
Yes, yes. I remember that I liked it. I remember when I first saw it, which would have been when it first came out, that Kirk and I thought it was a really interesting, fun summer movie. I don't know that I ever watched it again. Yeah, so this rewatch was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun. Let's go ahead and share some of our impressions from watching it our second time, because you haven't seen it in the interim either, right?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Maybe once or no, it's been a very, very long time. Maybe
Okay.
forever. I made a note like tank top and pants, lady hero uniform.
Yes.
It's what they
Yes.
always wear. And I had forgotten about all the people in this film. It's a collection of all the 90s supporting players.
Unbelievable cast.
It was a great cast.
Yes, you just kept seeing person after person that you were connecting to.
I did make a note that it was a really compelling beginning. The flashes of lightning illuminating the action and the dog and the little girl being in peril and watching her dad get ripped out of the shelter. What a trauma.
Absolutely. It was one of the most engaging starts. And then you were so personally invested with her. You were with her from the word go. But those Jurassic Park parallels, they hit me in the face.
Okay,
Not
tell me.
only Helen Hunt and her parallels to Laura Dern, but the science angle,
Yeah.
the sense of adventure,
Yeah.
even the caravan scenes. It felt so
Rain,
much,
you know,
yes,
things happening
going
in the
into
rain.
the unknown,
Yeah.
yes. So many times I was like, Jurassic Park, Jurassic Park.
Michael knows what works.
I thought another standout point or element was the fact that they gave this group a noble goal, because I think
Yeah.
otherwise we would have been caught up in, you all just like storms. You
Yeah.
all just want the extremism. You like the risk. You're just doing this for fun and adventure. But no, they made it noble.
Yeah.
They wanted to save people's lives. They wanted to increase the warning time from 3 minutes, which was their current normal amount of time that people were
To 15.
Right, to 15. And then, of course, they upped the ante. They gave us more emotional investment when Aunt
Yes,
Meg
Aunt
got
Meg.
hit. And right, so the villain. The
My
villain.
close personal friend, Carrie
Yes,
Elways.
that's right.
That's what I wrote. It's like my close personal friend, Carrie Elways, is in this movie.
I thought it was fun because you know how it is. We analyze 6 Ways from Sunday.
Yeah.
And so you're always thinking about, okay, well, he's there to be the villain, to make us root harder for the others, to
Yeah.
put the competitive edge there. And also he's the one who shows us how dangerous tornadoes are
Yeah.
because he experiences it.
Yeah.
And then I thought about the girlfriend, Melissa.
I felt so sorry for Melissa. I did write a little funny thing before you say say that. I wrote, what is up with the accents in this movie? Where is everybody from? Helen has none. Carrie and Melissa are from Oakland, Georgia. And Bill is unknown origin. What is happening to
That
you
was
guys?
funny.
Yeah.
Yes. But Melissa, I think you and I said this off mic. On the initial watch, I don't know that we had a lot of sympathy
I
for
didn't.
her.
The rewatch, I was like, oh, Melissa.
She is so mistreated.
She is.
Yes.
Justice for Melissa. You know who she reminded me of? Walter from Sleepless in Seattle. She was just the sweet fiance who loved him. And it's like, it's never going to work.
No.
It's never going to work.
And she just put up with
She
these people
did.
putting her life in danger.
And driving and trying to do her job. Like, I would have stayed with Aunt Meg, but then we know the tornado would have gotten her, at that point too.
She had a lot of purposes though, because I thought, all right, so Melissa
Why is she here?
is there for humor.
Yeah.
Because a lot of humor came through her reactions. But she also, I think, was there to kind of be
the
voice.
audience?
Yes, the voice of the viewer who's going, are y'all crazy?
She said that.
Why
You're
are you doing
crazy.
this? Yes, why are you doing this? And then, of course, the conflict with the love triangle. I was like, well, she's an important
She has
role.
a purpose.
And she got mistreated.
She did.
Well, those were a few of my impressions. Did you have anything else you wanted to throw in before we start digging into this?
So before you do dive in, I'll say one thing that I made a note about. What I love about adventure movies, and this also ties into Jurassic Park, is the costumes. Everybody has a look. Melissa had the white, John Hammond had a totally white suit. She had the totally white suit. If you wanted to dress as Helen Hunt's character Joe for Halloween, if you wore the white tank top and the
Khaki,
pants, the khaki pants, that would be her.
Yes.
So you just had a look.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, to start with, let's talk about the science. We've already said that Twisters is widely credited for introducing storm chasers to most of the population. I mean, this movie made it a thing. But the movie did take a little criticism for some of the inaccuracies. One of them being that they said the funnel cloud is really the only dangerous part of the tornado. That's
the
not
wind, right?
Right. Well, yeah. And I mean,
the debris.
But they actually showed that. So even though they said it, they then showed that it wasn't actually accurate because they were in danger from the debris themselves. But a lot of things they did try to make scientifically accurate. For example, the device that they used, Dorothy, was inspired by the instrument pack that real tornado researchers tried to put in the path of tornadoes to study them. The real one is called TOTO.
Aw.
Yeah, it stands for Totable Tornado Observatory. And then another example is they used real meteorologists from Oklahoma
That area?
in their news reports. Yes, you would see throughout the movie they would be showing these little news reports. Those were real weathermen.
That's cool.
Yes, and in fact, at the very beginning, when you have the scene with Joe's family, this fella named Gary England, that was actual footage. He is a weatherman. That was footage from him warning of a different tornado that they just pulled into this scene.
Archival footage.
Yeah. Going back to Dorothy, we talked about that. Let's follow that rabbit trail for just a sec. There are actually several Wizard of Oz references in the movie. Dorothy, of course, being one. They even had the little picture of Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz there. Do you remember any of the other?
Her dog at the top of the show was like a little Toto dog.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you know that
The movie Aunt Meg was watching was A Star Is Born that had Judy Garland in it. So they probably couldn't get the rights to show Wizard of Oz, but I thought, well, that's a nice little nod.
Well, and I didn't remember this, but a cow is one of the many things that Dorothy sees outside
is
her
it?
window during the Twister. And you've already said that the family dog, Toby, in the beginning scene is the same breed as Toto. Yeah. The cast. Bill Paxton played Bill Harding, although Tom Hanks was
I saw
also
that.
considered for the
Yeah.
role. He would have done well.
Yeah, but then he said, I just didn't want to do that in my career at that time. And he recommended Bill because they had just done Apollo 13 together.
Oh, I love that. And Laura Dern was actually considered
there you
for
go.
Dr. Joe Harding, which of course Helen Hunt played. What about Dusty?
I love Dusty.
He was
Philip
so
Seymour
good.
Hoffman.
He was so good. He was the big
I
comic
thought
relief
Melissa could have
fella.
gone with Dusty. He obviously liked her. Like,
Oh,
that
yes.
could have been a very odd couple, but, she would have been adored.
It would never have worked.
Not at all, but
Never.
she would have been loved.
Yes, but he was fun. Some of the actors who were considered and refused the role were Garth Brooks, Mark Cuban,
Garth
and
Brooks?
Chris Farley. Yeah, that's what it said.
I like Philip. He was the right
Yeah.
choice.
Jamie Gertz is the one who played Melissa.
Did you know she is like the wealthiest person. She's a billionaire.
You mentioned that to me.
Yes.
How did she make all the money? Remind me.
I think she owns a sports team.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, but I don't know if she's the richest woman in the world. She's somewhere up in there, either the richest actor or something. She's the top of some list.
Wow.
Billionaire.
Well, go girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melissa turned out just fine.
She
don't
didn't
need you, Bill.
We've already said Carrie played the villain. Dr. Jonas
Carrie
Miller.
could never be a villain. No,
He did a good job.
Yeah, he was. He was so schmarmy.
Alan Ruck. I didn't even know that actor's name. I just looked at him and was
Cameron.
like, it's Cameron.
It's Cameron.
Ferris Bueller's
I'm sure he
Dad.
loves that.
Yes, he was a member of Joe's team, nicknamed Rabbit. And I also recognized the fella who, what was his nickname? I didn't even catch his name. I had to look it up, but he was Lawrence in the movie. He was played by Jeremy Davies, who I recognized from Lost. He was the character Daniel Faraday.
Was he?
Yes.
Which one?
He's the one that she had to get out of the truck when they were heading into the drive-in.
I thought he looked familiar and I couldn't
Kind of
place
has like
him.
dark hair that's straight to his head, kind of
Yeah.
thin build. Yeah, that's him.
Ah.
Yeah. And Lois Smith played Joe's Aunt Meg.
I liked her.
Of course, there were lots of other actors who were amazing, but we'll stop there. One other thing I thought was really interesting, if we want to talk about big names, I didn't realize that Van Halen created a song for their soundtrack.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was back when they were with Sammy Hagar, actually right before they split with him, I think. But they recorded the song Humans Being, and it was a big one for them that did really well.
Cool.
So let's talk about special effects.
No, they were really in tornadoes. There was no special effects. It was all real. All practical.
Did you see who helped them create those special
Probably,
effects?
I'm going to guess Industrial Light and Magic. He's
are
always
correct.
on Steven's projects.
You are correct.
They're two peas in a pod.
Yeah, but they said even with their help, it was still incredibly challenging to create those special effects. The director, Jan de Bont, gave an interview to Collider in 2024, and that was actually because of the media frenzy that was surrounding the new Twisters movie that was coming out, actually. So there were lots of articles that came out around that time. But he said when this movie was made and being put together, the technology for several things they were trying to do did not exist.
Wow.
We've said that before, right? So he talked about how wonderful it was that he was part of creating technology that is actually now being used by everyone, even though it's since been updated.
Sure.
You know, it's been perfected along the way. And not just in the US, but internationally. He said everybody is using the system basically that he helped create with this movie. So very cool thing. Having to do that, of course, added a lot of time and stress, even though it broke ground. It was work. So, for example, he told a Variety reporter in a different interview that they had 300 shots in the movie and rendering them would take 24 hours for every single shot.
I feel you, brother.
Think about the time.
I know. I've done stuff where it had to, in the olden days, where you had to wait. You would make a change. You have to wait for it to render before you could do another change. Now I have a program that renders in the background. It is
Amazing.
So much.
Yeah.
So much time saving.
Well, and I think about their short shooting schedule. I mean, like, these people were probably on a time crunch from the word go. But a few other notes regarding their special effects, and I'm sure you've probably seen some things, so you jump in here if you want. But there was a recording of a camel's moan slowed down that helped to create the sound of the tornado and to create the wind that they used in some of the scenes.
Airplane.
Yes, it was a jet engine from a Boeing 707. This part was kind of disturbing to me. They said that when it was a sunny day, well, that was a problem because so much of the movie needed to be, shown during bad weather when it was supposed to be dark and stormy looking. So they would use these high intensity lights in order to create a better contrast.
Yeah.
And as a result,
Retina damage.
yes,
I saw
Helen
that.
Hunt and Bill Paxton had these minor retinal burns
Dude.
through much of their filming. There was an NBC Insider article that said, quote, a local ophthalmologist and a UCLA eye specialist came to examine the two stars and determined that they had suffered no permanent damage.
Oh, that's good. Thank goodness.
Yeah, right. Thank heavens. Helen Hunt said, quote, it was not a big deal ultimately. We put on some dark glasses and we walked around like the mice in Cinderella for a while, but I was very relieved that Bill was the one who came forward and said, I might be going crazy, but I don't think I can see.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Right. I know.
And she's like, I'm glad he said something because I too am blind.
I mean, okay, that's so disturbing. So again, one of the most famous scenes, the cow.
Yeah.
The movie trivia says that, quote, according to the book on making the movie, the CGI cow picked up by the Twister sisters was originally a CGI zebra from Jumanji.
How did they do that? I don't know.
I don't know.
Joe has the most magical tank top I've ever seen. It's dirty, then it's clean. It's dirty, then it's clean.
Yes.
When she goes to her aunt's and takes a shower, she puts it back on and it's completely crisp white again. It's like, did you shower with the tank top on too?
In that same little sequence, I think Bill Paxton's shirt at the dinner table.
It was a little bit unbuttoned.
Unbuttoned, and yeah, it goes back and forth. But you know what? If that's
cares?
the worst, right?
Yeah.
But following this little rabbit trail just a little bit further down the way, the director said in an interview that the cow was not actually inspired by Wizard of Oz necessarily, but by a photo of a cow in a tree. He said he had seen this and he didn't think it was real. And then somebody told him that he was looking at an actual photo because after tornadoes, you will sometimes find cows or babies or all these things in trees. And he saw this photo, I know, and that inspired him to put the cow in there.
That's horrid.
The decision to have hail ended up causing all kinds of problems.
Shouldn't have
they
done
couldn't find enough blocks of ice in Oklahoma. They had to bring in ice blocks from other states and put that in their hail making
Some
machine.
of the stuff that was happening to them, I know it was CGI, but other stuff, I thought, y'all don't have on goggles. You're just getting hit by all this debris. I would be sliced to pieces. I would be a bloody mess.
Well, they took some beatings.
Yes, they did.
Yes.
There is one moment at the very, very end where they run into that barn and it's got they're like, who are these people? You know, that they have all the knives and stuff. But I thought in my head, I wonder if she was really hurt because they run into the next barn or whatever. And there is a yell that Helen Hunt does that doesn't sound like an actor yell. It sounds like I just got hit by something, ow, kind of yell. And I thought, I wonder if she just really got hit.
She might have. I mean, I didn't see anything about that, but I did see that she got hurt during the scene when she and Bill are jumping out of the moving truck into the cornfield.
Yep.
The door comes back and smacks her in the head.
Dude.
Yeah, they had to wedge it open so that they could go ahead and get the footage they needed.
Rub some dirt in it. Keep going. We got to get this movie done.
The one house you see that rolls in front of them was actually rolled in front of them.
We're going in.
It was a 2-story house that they used a 50-foot high crane to make go across in front of them. Craziness. But I thought this was fun. Speaking of the set and these homes that they had to destroy in the movie, they actually bought 8 blocks of houses in an old downtown area of the real town of Waukeeta, Oklahoma, for around $7,000 to $10,000 per house. And then they built about 30 more homes in order to have things to demolish. Yeah, they said the town later rebuilt the downtown area and kept things like the fire truck that was used in the film. They were like, okay, we'll hang on to that. But at the end of the movie, remember when they look up and Bill makes a comment about, well, the tornado didn't take the house. That house.
Yes, I saw this.
You saw that.
They had a fight and they said, no, that tornado is not going to take the house.
Yeah, it was supposed to be destroyed, but the Historical Society were like, no, 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 no.
You know what's more powerful than a tornado? The Historical Society.
That's right. Don't mess with them.
That's right.
One of the original taglines for the movie was supposed to be, it sucks.
I know, and they said, probably not your best idea.
Let's not do that. Do that. But to wrap up this section, I will just say this movie was wildly successful. Wikipedia says it was the second highest grossing film of 1996. We've already said it made about $495 million, and it was also nominated for an Oscar in the categories of sound and visual effects. So
It should have been.
Yeah.
It was revolutionary.
So we've talked about a few of the little glitches, but overall, this was a solid movie, especially for 1996.
Especially for them.
And new and novel, because again, you didn't know all the things about Twisters back then.
I did think it was interesting, as far as old tech alert, that he was using map books. He was like, okay, let me get this book out. Where are they? I got to figure out where they're going.
Well, that was a fun little trip down memory lane, visiting the 1996 Twister. When we come back, we're moving to 2024 Twisters.
Woohoo! There's not much we love more than spilling the tea with you every Tuesday. So, we've decided to occasionally take a moment to thank a few of our supporters who help make this possible.
Along with the fun, producing a weekly podcast also brings with it more time and expense than you might expect. Your financial generosity in becoming a member through Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon, both of which can be found on our website or social media accounts, allows us to keep creating these episodes.
We'd like to extend our deepest gratitude to one of our current members, Maggie. As a thank you, Maggie and anyone else who becomes a Scandal Water supporter will receive perks like discounts on merch and access to exclusive bonus content such as our minisodes.
If you'd like to hear your name on that roster, become a member using one of the links on social media or on our website, scandalwaterpodcast.com.
Until then, we lift our cup to you, Maggie.
Cheers! And we're back.
We are back.
Talk about twisters.
What was that accent? I was doing something weird. We are back, darlings. We're back. We're back. Let's
Hollywood.
talk. That's old Hollywood.
Well, Twisters was released in mid-July of 2024, and you and I had neither one seen it prior to this. Am I correct?
No, I saw it. I saw it. Yeah, I
okay,
saw it with
okay.
my family. My family and I all watched it at my mom's house. I remember that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you love it?
Oh, we did.
Okay.
I think I liked it a little bit better than the original.
Really?
I felt like there were deeper themes talked about. Although I thought it was really interesting that in the first one, Bill Paxton was kind of he didn't have a lot of personality. And you're kind of like, why does she love him? He's just kind of there. And while I respect all the trauma that Kate went through, I didn't feel like she had a lot of personality for all the dudes to love her
Right.
as much as they did.
I agree.
Yeah,
That is
Helen Hunt
interesting.
was more vibrant and she had a personality, and Kate was just
more dynamic.
Yeah, but
she had a lot going on.
I think it was the way they were writing her dealing with her trauma. It would have been weird if she had been life of the party when she'd gone through this horrible event. They chose to have her be someone who was affected by her trauma in
More
this
reserved.
way. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, speaking of trauma, the movie producers probably had their own trying to get this movie made because it was delayed first by the COVID-19 pandemic and then the 2023 writer's strike.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it would have come out way sooner probably. Also, because of all this, went significantly over budget, so there was a lot going on. The film was directed by Lee Isaac Chung, and two of his non-negotiables when he signed on were that he absolutely was determined they were going to shoot this on location in Oklahoma.
Good choice.
And he wanted there to be a balance of practical effects along with the CGI that he knew they needed to make the movie.
I think those are good.
So you and I were trying to determine, like, what do you call this? A lot of the sources said it's a standalone sequel because it doesn't necessarily...
It doesn't have any of the same characters, but it does feature some of the same tech. Because don't they refer to Dorothy in it?
Yes, they absolutely do.
So it takes place in the... I think it's kind of like what they're doing with the Jurassic World... or Jurassic Park, whatever it is, Jurassic World Rebirth. It's going to take place in the same universe. This stuff happened, but we're not going to really reference it. It's just adjacent.
Yeah.
These people existed, but we don't talk about them.
Yeah, that's a pretty good description there because I found an IndieWire article that had some quotes from the director, and in that article they describe it as, quote, not a reboot, not a sequel, but an expansion of the world built and destroyed by the 1996 tornado Blockbuster. Yeah. So they acknowledge that this is a world where Joe Harding is still out there somewhere chasing tornadoes, studying tornadoes, but the focus is on this brand new group of scientists with their own mission to accomplish.
I think that was the right way to do it, especially with so much time that it passed.
Although it took some criticism because people were like, couldn't you have had a cameo? Couldn't you have like somehow acknowledged Joe Harding or the work that they were doing?
But then look at what happened with Jurassic World Dominion. They had the legacy actors and people didn't like that. It's like you can't please anybody.
You can't win. Yeah.
Just do a good story the best you know how.
Well, on a related side note, the movie trivia that comes with the film, you know, when you watch the movie, they have the trivia that you can look at. It reported that Bill Paxton had tried for years to get a sequel to Twister made with the hope that he would get to direct it.
Oh, cool.
He wanted it to be a modernized retelling of a tri-state tornado that occurred in 1925 that must have been devastating because it killed something like 695 people.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, he had James Cameron that he had on board to be producer. And I mean, this whole thing was planned out. At one point, they got so far as to have the working title of Twister 3D and a projected release date as the summer of 2012. But then they had budgetary issues and basically it just fell through. And then Bill died in 2017.
That's so sad.
Yeah. So that version never got made, but here we have this one. So back to my IMDb summary.
Yes.
As storm season intensifies, the past of former storm chaser Kate Carter.
Because of course her name is Kate. It's always Kate. The hero
Kate.
is always Kate.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well,
that's why I was talking that way. It's Kate, darling. It's Kate.
But that's Shakespearean. It goes back to your
Taming of the Shrew.
Right. You have some of those classic names that you fall back on. The
I'm
strong
surprised
female,
that Tyler wasn't
the,
Jack. It's always those
There's
names.
Adam's
Yeah.
a big one.
Sorry.
Kate is lured back to the open plains after a devastating encounter years prior, and reckless social media superstar Tyler Owens
He is not reckless. Okay.
collide when terrifying phenomena never seen before are unleashed. The pair and their competing teams find themselves squarely in the paths of multiple storm systems converging over central Oklahoma in the fight of their lives.
Did they see the original Twister? Those people were reckless. They had no harnesses, no anchoring. They were just running into a tornado.
But, I mean, they were pretty reckless here, too. Let's talk about our impressions.
Okay.
I was overwhelmed with the parallels. I mean, it was just one after another. I would be like, okay, and that's...
I'm not back. She said that.
Yes.
And then she lifted that dirt or dandelions or something the same way that Bill's character did. It's almost like they made her character a combination of Bill and Joe because she had the trauma of Joe, but she had the personality of Bill. It just, I could see that too.
Well, I mean, there was just so much. This is, again, personal investment because of...
What happened to her?
Right, what happened at the beginning where you lost loved ones because of a tornado.
I know, in the moment where they said, you know what today is? And I was like, the day you all die and become the tragic backstory for our heroine. It's so sad.
gosh.
But I mean, that being said, that opening sequence was horrifying.
Yes,
It was so
It
traumatic.
Really was. It was awful.
It was really, really awful. And I
Yeah.
do not blame her for being like, you know what? I'm done. I don't know why she even stayed in weather after that.
Honestly, I think that's more realistic.
Probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you would just be like, nope,
Nope,
done,
nope, nope.
done.
And that being said, I am grateful for people who are missing the fear sequence in their DNA, but I am not that person. Like, I'm
not me either.
No. And also, I often wonder about these. You're the only person that can help me do this. You have a gift. Is she really the only person that can help you do this? You know, when Javi comes to
Right,
her and he's
right.
like, only you. Kate's the tornado whisperer. She's the only one. Like, literally.
Right.
The Lord only made one.
Well, I mean, that was what they had Bill be in the first movie. She was the tornado whisperer like him, but then we are surprised later when we discover that Tyler...
He's pretty good at it too.
Yeah, Glenn Powell's character also can do the same thing. But some of the other parallels, the noble mission, we have to save others, the science, the team, the sense of adventure, the music, except now it's country music.
It was cool.
instead of-
I like the music.
Yeah, there were, I mean, parallel after parallel. Even the Wizard of Oz references. I mean, just one thing after another. But I agree with you. The theme was different. This time, a key theme was overcoming fear.
Yes.
They
and
really...
I think that's why I liked it, because it had a more personal theme about how this girl, and they said they wanted to make it about her journey. How did she, what did he say? You don't face your fears, you ride them?
Yep.
And at the end, can I say, when she drives into the tornado and she takes her hand off the wheel and she puts her hands and she just rides into it, that was really affecting for me about her facing this fear. And early on, it was such a bad idea to have Javi, like she'd had no therapy, nothing. She goes into the field, the windshield wiper starts doing that, and these trigger points that happened, it just took her right back to that moment. It was such a bad idea to have her go out with no kind of, what do they say, coping mechanisms or anything. No wonder she kind of wigged out.
Right, absolutely. So it was good to see her deal with it.
Yeah.
To move through it. And then, of course, we also had all of the summer blockbuster things that you expect. We had the special effects, we had the excitement, we had the adventure. So let's talk about the science. The same fella we've already referenced, director Lee Isaac Chung, was quoted in a Hollywood Reporter article as saying, quote, "All of the tornado science elements, we tried to be as accurate as possible. We do take stretches. There's science fiction in it. The idea of Kate's experiment, of what she's trying to accomplish with the tornado, that is very speculative, but it's based on theoretical science." So in order to try to be as accurate as possible, the producers asked the National Weather Service to offer some training to the cast and crew on tornado safety. They agreed. Several members of that organization held what they referred to as a tornado boot camp that was attended by the key actors and lots of different people from the team, including the director and, some other key figures. Along those same lines, Daisy gave an interview on the Today Show, and she said that they had actual storm chasers there.
That's cool.
Giving them tips, and they would even serve as extras in the film sometimes. And speaking of storm chasers, in the film, they include this whole sequence where they feature this El Reno water tower. That was because a real-life tornado occurred in 2013 that inspired some of the events from their film, and so they were kind of paying homage to that, but even more so, they were trying to pay respect to 3 members of a storm-chasing team called Twistex. The members were Tim Samaras, Paul Samaras, and Carl Young, who actually died in that tornado. And then you mentioned another real-life inspiration with the movie theater. Do you want to mention?
Yes. I saw that the movie theater, I don't know if it was a photo or something, the Mayfield tornado that happened in our state in 2021. And there was a photo of, I think, a movie theater where the screen had been ripped away and they used that.
Yeah. And to me, it was another parallel as well. We have a drive-in in the first movie. Let's have a movie theater in the second one. Well, quickly to run through the cast, Daisy Edgar Jones, who is actually British, and I did not know that.
Look at her go.
Yeah, she played the lead role of Kate. I don't know this actress. Have you heard of Jodie Comer?
No.
Well, she was in the running for the role, but she had to drop out due to scheduling conflicts. So Jodie almost had the part, apparently. Glenn Powell, we've already said, played the male lead, Tyler.
I liked that I liked the twist they had with him. They tried to portray him as a hillbilly YouTuber, and then he turns out to be this really compassionate, good guy who you think he's selling merchandise just to capitalize on it. But no, he's selling merchandise so that they can afford to feed people. I wondered if Ryan Hall, the YouTube weatherman, if he inspired a little bit of that character, because he is from Eastern Kentucky. He does have that y'all accent, but he is also someone that is raising money when there's affected areas. He's the person that we watch when there's tornadoes. We watch him because he is so accurate, and he actually rose to fame because of the Mayfield. I think it was the Mayfield tornado. He was one of the people who was online warning others, and a lot of people got to safety because of his work on
that's
YouTube.
nice.
Yeah. So I definitely want to give a plug to him, Ryan Hall, y'all, and he deserves all of the, I don't want to say fame, but he deserves all of the attention that he's getting because he is so accurate, and he does not encourage people to go out in it, but he does have tornado chasers. He's kind of the man in the chair where he's at the desk and he's running all the other stuff, and he's got, you've seen him grow. Yeah, he is the wizard, and you've seen him grow and have other people, and there's people. It's cool. Something else that he's done is people who now have security cameras or cameras on different things, they have tapped in, they've joined with him, so that he has access to their cameras when he needs it, so he can show people what's happening. He's trying to get access everywhere.
Goodness.
He's a cool guy.
Okay.
I really, really like him.
Very interesting. Well, Anthony Ramos played Javi. I knew I recognized him, but I
Hamilton,
could not
right?
figure out. Yes, he is from Hamilton, the original version that you see on Disney Plus. I don't know if it's still there, but a few years ago it was on Disney Plus. He played the dual roles of John Lawrence and Philip Hamilton. Maura Tierney played Kate's mom, and there was a cameo from Bill Paxton's son, James.
He was a jerk.
Yeah, the angry hotel guest during the rodeo scene who's yelling at the
There's
worker.
no tornado, and then they get sucked into a tornado.
Yeah. And then Glenn Powell's parents can be seen sitting behind him and Daisy Edgar Jones during the rodeo scene. Glenn has shared in an interview that his parents have appeared in all his movies since Spy Kids 3 Game Over that came out in 2003.
Was he the kid in that?
He would have to have been, right?
Aww.
I would think. Glenn Powell's dog, Hot Brisket, also appears in the movie and would hang around on set all
That's
the time.
sweet.
Yes. Daisy talked about him on the Today Show interview, and you see pictures of like the
Tag
cast
on
will
it.
be
That's so
together. And you'll
precious.
see Hot Brisket there. Some of the nods to the original movie that I missed, you jump in here if you saw this.
Okay.
But we both noticed that they had the Dorothy 5, which related to, the same device that was used in the original movie.
Their truck names.
But I did not notice that in the rodeo scene, the little girl who joins Kate and Tyler in the swimming pool has on a blue dress and sparkly red shoes,
Oh, I
and that
did
was
notice.
supposed to be a nod to Dorothy,
Whale.
they said. I did notice that the Storm Par vehicles were nicknamed Lion, Tin Man, Scarecrow, and Wizard. Yeah. Something else, they said the speakers on top of the RV that was driven by Tyler's team was an homage to the speakers mounted on Dusty's RV in the original.
And her outfit, that tank top and
Oh,
pants.
yeah.
The cool girl adventure.
Yes. You mentioned the I'm Not Back.
Yep.
Now, this was really subtle, but at one point, Kate comes out in this t-shirt that has baseball on the front of it. Hers, I think, is red. It is the same shirt that the little boy at the end of the original movie comes out in when he's emerging from the storm
For real?
shelter.
It's the same shirt?
I have pictures. I mean, not the literal same shirt, but it's the same design.
That's cool.
Different colors, but they brought the same shirt back.
That's really cool.
Yes. I'm going to put that in our show notes. Also, did you see a cow in the second movie?
No. Where was it?
The director didn't see it either.
He didn't? He's the director.
He realized the special effects team had slid one in. It is so subtle that you'll miss it unless you know where to look. But here's a paragraph from an article that explains it. I believe this was Hollywood Reporter. Towards the climax of the film, when an F5 tornado is on a collision course with the town of El Reno, Oklahoma, there's a blink and you miss it image of a cow caught up in the storm. Sort of. It's the hardest thing to spot, explained Chung, that's the director. I only spotted it because I noticed some weird marking on a piece of flying debris. I said, could you freeze that frame? I was looking at frame by frame shots when we're doing VFX reviews, and sure enough, there was a cow on that thing.
That's funny.
Yeah, so they got the cow in there. One more note, going back to that movie theater scene. This is kind of cool, and I don't think I would have ever guessed this, but the director said that he really, really loved that sequence that took place inside the movie theater.
I liked it
for
too.
2 reasons. Why did you like it?
Well, you tell me what he said, because I don't know if I'll be as smart as him.
Well, he said, first of all, he wanted to make it really personal because he was hoping that people who were watching in a movie theater, it would just all of a sudden like bring it home to them, like the sense of danger and just the personal reactions to it. But then he also had a very different reason. Here's a quote from him. From the start, the design of that theater and the size of the screen and the special effects and the stunts happening in that sequence, I had in mind that people would be sitting in their seats watching this thing happen and sending out a rallying cry for the necessity of theaters was part of his reason in making the movie at all. He went on to talk about how special it is to have a shared experience in the theater. He reflected on how much movie theaters had meant to him over his life, and he basically said, this is a wonderful art form that needs to be protected because movie theaters are in danger right now. A lot of them are kind of dying out. And so he wanted to bring home this idea of how special movie theaters are.
Yeah, no, that's not the same reasons at all.
Well, what would you have said?
I liked it because, yes, it was personal. And I think they also said that this is a very random close the doors, like the end sequence, there was the line close the doors in both films, but I liked it because this is the moment that she faces her trauma because of what's going on in the movie theater. They're not going to survive. These people are not going to live through this. She goes and gets in the truck, and that's what forces her to finally face what she's been not facing, and that Lily is almost sucked up. And I like that, like, it made me teary when he grabbed her and was holding on to her. It was affecting the team too. So that's why I liked it. I just thought it was a really powerful sequence about holding on to what you care about and then going out into the storm to face.
She finally overcame her fears.
Yeah.
Well, this was a very successful movie, not quite as successful comparatively as the first one was.
Well,
but
yeah, the first one, anytime it's the first one, it's always going to be more.
Yes. This one cost $155 million to make, and it brought in $372 million. So that's a success.
Yeah.
That's a big success. I saw that it did better within the U.S. than it did internationally, but I don't know. But they said it actually also, I think, did better in the Midwest area than other areas. So who knows? I mean, every movie probably has places where you connect to people more so than others. But that actually brings us to the armchair.
Armchair psychologist.
So I thought I would ask this. Twisters certainly paid tribute to the original movie in many ways, as we've discussed. But some have questioned that it was a standalone with a totally new cast of characters and a new plot unrelated to the previous one. They've kind of criticized it for that. Like, they wish it had had more of a connection to the original. So what is your opinion about that?
It didn't bother me. I don't think I have. But again, I was not emotionally attached to that first one. I guess a comparative question would be, how would you feel if they just kept doing Jurassic Park movies and never acknowledged the original? Yes, I loved it when they had the tiebacks, when Jurassic World opened and we had the tiebacks to the original. I thought it was super cool. But sequels don't always do as well, because sometimes the idea of it is so much stronger than the execution of it, and some people just don't do it well. So I didn't have a dog in the fight.
Right.
It didn't bother me because it's not a franchise that I was desperately in love with. So I don't.
You were fine with it?
I was fine.
I saw where they were smart with their casting. They some very hot names right now. You know, these are some popular actors. And the fact that they did twist the story in a different way made it interesting. Yeah. I will say one thing that drove me nuts, and it's a small thing, but so much of Twisters seem like, of course, there are things that are not believable, but it seemed like they were trying to make things a little more realistic until we got to that stupid airport scene when he decides to put his little drill thing down.
Who does that?
Well, he's going to go to jail.
Yes, he's going to go to
pay
jail.
How much money to fix the concrete? I was like, this is ridiculous. No,
that ties into my one beef with this, which is this was supposed to be a romance. And they shot, I remember when we watched it and it ended, I went, they didn't kiss?
I thought that was terrible too.
It was terrible. They have defended it and they've said, no, this is more about the platonic love that they had for, we wanted it to be about her. Steven Spielberg is the one that's like, no, don't do that. Like,
bad call, Steven.
This was a horrible call. If you watch the whole thing, they are making goo-goo eyes at each other. Everything in the writing is setting it up for them to be a couple by the end of this. Everything is.
Right.
The meet cute, we don't like each other, but now we're on the same team. When they were making the model together, the way they were looking at each other, the mom saying,
the chemistry was there.
The mom saying, do you know what you're getting into? I think so. Like, what? And then he just goes and grabs her suitcase, and even the Javi goes, attaboy. And she says to him, maybe if you feel it, you should chase it. Attaboy. And then he doesn't kiss her.
I thought it was so anticlimactic.
It was super anticlimactic.
Right. I mean, it deflated.
Yeah.
Like everything they had built in terms of the tension and the romance and the chemistry, I was kind of like,
that's
it? Okay. Here's
That's
where we
it.
are. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I felt like that really was
a popcorn
bad ending.
movie. You've set them up to be the handsome leads that fall in love with each other. You had a love triangle. Javi says to her, there was a time I would have done anything for you, Kate. But then this.
Right. Yeah.
That's where you don't go realistic. Okay, so in the field with real tornado chasers, it's usually platonic. We are not real. We are fiction. And you did not deliver on the promise of your premise.
Yes, I agree. All of a sudden, everything that we were supposed to be so invested in, we're kind of like, okay, well, you all don't, okay, well, we don't care about that anymore. Yeah. So I felt like it was a big miss in their ending. I'm sorry, I'm stuck on that. He drilled into the ground at an airport? Come on.
That was stupid.
Like, that was so stupid.
It was.
I really didn't like that. So that was my big disappointment. I'm a little different than you are. I think I actually like the first movie better because I give them more credit. I feel like they originated everything.
Yeah, they did.
And then the second one was like, how can we build on it and take the ideas we like and give a nods to it, but then make it different enough that it's a new twist. And I feel like, I mean, I thought it was a good movie until the end.
Yeah, I agree.
But I kind of give the first movie a little more props just because at
It
that
was the
time,
first movie.
it was so original.
I think I just felt so sad for Melissa. I just felt so bad for her. There was not a happy ending for her. She was just sad. Like Javi, he was sort of like, I liked you, but it's cool. We're fine. But she was devastated. And that was a hard emotional thing to get over for her. And then, I don't know, they fought all the time. And I thought, you guys, are you going to stay together? Because I feel like you need to go to therapy in order to stay together. I liked both of them, but I guess I just like the themes of the second one better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no right or wrong, right? I mean, these are just our opinions.
Except they should listen to us and redo the ending and release the take where he actually kisses her, because then it'll be a satisfying conclusion.
Right. Even if they just put that in the extras at the end of the movie, maybe it is.
Ooh, did you notice at the end of Twister, I watched it on VHS. Thank you very much. My internet wasn't working, so I had to watch it on VHS. At the end, there's actually a person from the Weather Service who talks about like preparing for storms on my VHS tape.
Well, a nice little PSA.
It was.
Okay.
Indeed.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of this episode. So who are we going to cheers?
Why don't we go back to the people that started everything, the writers of the original script, because we wouldn't have any of this without them.
Oh, absolutely. Michael Crichton and Anne-Marie Martin.
Oh, yes.
Well, cheers to you.
Cheers.
If you love what we do, please rate and review our show or become a supporter through Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon. Whether a single gift or recurring monthly donation, your support is what allows us to keep the tea brewing.
Subscribe on your favorite podcast app or the Scandal Water Podcast YouTube channel, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Show notes are available at our website, scandalwaterpodcast.com. where you can also access the merch store and more.
This episode was executive produced by Candy Thomas, that's me, and Ashley Raymer Brown.
That's me.
It was researched and written by Candy Thomas and edited by Ashley Raymer Brown.
A special thank you to Josh Martin, who wrote, composed, and performed the Scandal Water theme and other music. Matt C. Adams, who created the artwork, and Joshua Reith, who designed our website and provides ongoing technical support.
As a reminder, this podcast is purely for entertainment purposes. The thoughts and opinions of the host during each episode of Scandal Water are their own and do not reflect the opinions of any future guests, advertisers, or clearly professional psychologists. Thanks for listening.